Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Misfits Racing League broadcast. My name is Strifium, and joining me as always for Tier 1 action, Mikcow. How are you doing?
G'day everybody. Welcome to the stream. I'm doing very well, Strifium. Thanks for asking. I'm looking forward to this race. After such an action-packed Tier 2 race, it's going to be quite the thriller for these drivers, I'm sure. And who knows, we might even see some rain, which would definitely be exciting. If you have seen the China race, it can certainly throw a spanner in the works. So I'm keen to see how these drivers handle the circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting if we get to see some rain. That Chinese Grand Prix that we saw a couple rounds ago was absolutely fantastic. Of course, let's take a look at where we've gone this season. We've already seen these racers ahead of round 6 go through Australia, Bahrain, Vietnam, China, and most recently in the Netherlands for the Dutch Grand Prix. Now we are here for round 6. It is Spain, and next week we have Monaco. Following that, we go to Azerbaijan, Canada, France, Austria, and then into the second leg of the season, we go into, of course, the British Grand Prix for round 12. After that, we move on to Hungary, Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Russia. After that, we move through into Japan, the US, Mexico, Brazil, and we close things out for the season in Abu Dhabi. Now, of course, Tier 1 action. Who is on the grid today? We have a new driver on the grid today in a reserve role. Of course, some of you may have seen him racing in the past around town, if you will. It is some idiot taking over for Zmayo over at Mercedes today. But of course, Brainstew is here and present, and he's looking for some points. Alex Bido and Hyper over at Ferrari. Damas and Swifty for Red Bull. Yoda with Rackety over at McLaren, and it's Remco van Putten, the Dutchman, with BTFU for Renault, Shenjie and Freeware for AlphaTauri, with Fubar and Neon Rays in the pink over at Racing Point. We have Nigel McGeedis and John for Alfa Romeo. How many Alphas now, Mikcow? Henners and Astrodate for Haas, with King and Custom bringing out the grid for Williams. Of course, standings. Can't go without standings, Mikcow. Let's take a look at how these drivers have gone after 5 rounds so far. First and foremost, Steward Report following the Netherlands. Round 5, Custom promoted to P9. Swifty and Hyper each demoted to place, each after post-race penalties were handed out, or time removal, of course. Shenjie currently leading the championship in first. Alex Bido in second, with Van Putten rounding off your top 3, and it is an AlphaTauri-led championship at the moment, if my eyes aren't deceiving me. So, things are intense on this grid, and you look at those points, things can go any way here after racing action finishes in Spain. Of course, considering how Tier 2 went, these drivers are going to be on high alert, Mikcow, and I do believe we are ready to go.
Yep, we have all 20 drivers in the session ready to go. I can confirm that it will be a full grid for this race, and I am very excited. I'm very keen to see how our lovely Spaniard, Mr. Alex Bido, in that Scarlet Red Ferrari does around his home circuit. Of course, Alex actually winning the endurance race around here just a couple weeks ago, and has shown some very quick times throughout practice. So I'm very keen to see how he goes around his home circuit. Of course, everyone wants to win their home circuit. I'm sure you can relate to that, Striff.
I definitely can. I haven't had the best luck around Canada as of yet, but of course we will see how my season goes. But that is not what we're here to talk about today. It is, of course, Spain. As you said, Alex winning in that endurance race. Now, we were talking about home Grand Prix last week as well. It was Remco van Putten's turn at the plate, and he swung and missed, unfortunately. And he couldn't win that Dutch Grand Prix. So we'll see if that juju carries over for Alex Bido. Maybe he'll get some kind of... who knows what it'll be. Maybe rain will throw a wrench in the works, because right now it is looking pretty gloomy here. And makes me curious. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's quite a few clouds looming over the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya this evening, but no raindrops, I'm saying, so just probably cooler track conditions, which might be a blessing for some of these drivers, actually. The the Barcelona circuit is one that can really, really punish that front left tire, especially through the long, high-speed right-handers of both turns 3 and 9, as well as turn 4, providing some load, as well as turn 13. So actually, I've just been told now it's overcast but dry for qualifying, and it will be a dry race. So no rain, unfortunately, for us here in the commentary booth, Strifium, but I'm sure some of these drivers are relieved that there will not be any rain to foil with their plans. They're able to go flat out for the 33 laps ahead in the race.
Well, with a grid this intense, Mikcow, it's almost not terrible to have no rain dynamic, because considering how the season's been so far through 5 rounds, these drivers, rain or no rain, know how to put on a fantastic race. And leading us out of the pit lane is, of course, the Renault of Remco van Putten. We were speaking him a few moments ago, and he will take us on the first flyer around here in Barcelona.
Yep, looking to try and make amends for what he believed a disappointing result at his home GP last week around Zandvoort. So, yeah, definitely looking to make amends and strike back hard while the iron is hot. Of course, trying to take Alex Bitto's home GP as well, looking to try and reverse the favor if he can. But yeah, he has shown some great pace through his time here with us. So I'm curious to see how he goes as he starts his first flying run lap. So let's ride on board with the Renault driver, with the Dutchman, as he starts his the first flying lap of the session. So you're coming down this long main straight, probably the best overtaking opportunity, down into turn 1, braking just around that concrete strap, using all of the green AstroTurf on both of the apexes, trying to open up the corners as much as you can. Keep it tight for turn 3, and then you'll want to let the car drift out to the left-hand side to open up turn 4, carrying as much speed as you can. Opts to stay in 5th gear. Looks like he runs a little bit wider than he might have liked, but doesn't seem to have cost him too much. Down into turn number 5, very easy to lock the front left there. Turn 6 completely flat. Nigel, you can see there on the apex, getting out of the way nicely through turn 7 and 8, using the AstroTurf again, trying to open up the corners as much as you can now through the blind apex of turn 9, which we have seen throughout the EU and the Tier 2 race can catch out so many drivers. It looks like Remco van Putten keeping it nice and flat and nice and tidy through that section. Heading into Sector 3 now, turns 11, 12, 13. Custom there. It's been a bit of an awkward spot. He's actually going to get blocked by the Williams, which is very, very unfortunate for him. He was on for what looked like to be a decent lap, but
Yeah,
very unfortunate. He'll have to go back into the pits and reset and try again.
Meanwhile, Henner is finishing out his lap in the Haas.
And it's coming across the line with a 1:15.9 to start us off on the soft compound tires. Let's see what the drivers behind him can do. Looks like S King will take away that provisional pole by 5/10 with a 1:15.4. Freeware there with a 1:16.6. All on the soft compound tires, so maybe not as fast over times as we were expecting straight out of the gate, but there's still a lot of time left in this session, and I think we'll see some fast times come through as Alex Bitto will take provisional pole with a 1:14.7.
Yeah, now.
So that's a decent lap from the Spaniard.
Definitely.
And Zamis with a 15.5 on the mediums.
Zamis in on those mediums. That's a very good time from him. Meanwhile, it's some idiot, the guy rumored to be putting on a serious challenge to the Spaniard, and he drops things off at the end of his lap. Not setting things on those softs. Just warming up, perhaps looking to go onto the medium compound tires to set his time. Of course, the drivers that do set times in the top 10 here are required to start on the same tire they set that lap with. So should they come across the line on softs and fail to perhaps put something faster across on the mediums, they will not be able to jump on those yellow rim tires.
Yeah, maybe I'm just having a look here at Hyper in that Ferrari, making his way through Sector 3 as we speak, currently on a flying lap. So see what he can do for the Scuderia and see if he can get anywhere close to his teammate. For those of you who watched last season, Hyper had quite a strong showing out there, last time around. But it'll be P7 for the Ferrari, so not the horrible lap time to start us off with a 1 minute 16.2. Certainly a bit more time to find, but I don't think he's too displeased with that opening run.
No, I don't think so at all. He's had a very shaky start to this season in that Ferrari. He's come together with his teammate a couple times in qualifying, but he's no stranger to this circuit. Of course, the last two, a little bit new for him. I don't believe we drove China last year, and of course, Zandvoort being completely who knows. But good showing from him here so far in 8th position now, as I believe the Haas of Aphrodite has jumped up into P2. Very nice time from him, a 1:15.295.
Now I think it's that time of the session, Striff. We have to go on board with the Pink Panther, the German Frubar himself. He's making his way through Sector 3 now. It seems to have not bottled this lap so far. So all memes aside, it seems to be a pretty decent lap from the racing point. Frubar one who has been struggling at this opening part of the season thus far, hoping to change that. Get some nice rotation through the final chicane, but we'll see what the time's going to be as he comes across the line. It'll be P10 for the German, the 1 minute 16.9. 3/10 behind Freeware at the moment, as Yoda will come across the line behind him to set a 1 minute 16 flat, which is good enough for P7, just ahead of his teammate.
Meanwhile, his teammate Fubar's teammate Neon Rays, P14 currently, no time set, flying out of turn 4. Let's see what he's able to put on the board. Currently running on the soft compound tires. Big lock up there on the front left. Quite a few drivers yet to set times. Here's Shenjay being one of them. He's got a race win under his belt this season. Brainstew, who's shown great speed, who got seemingly robbed his last time out in China after the strategy and confusion that came with that very dynamic race. Robbed him of what could have been a possible podium.
Looks like a pretty solid lap from Neon Rays thus far. Been a few areas where he could probably extend the track a little bit more and carry a bit more speed, but it doesn't look like he's on a horrible lap. Of course, we'll see what the stopwatch says as he makes his way through the final corner. DRS open, he actually backs out of it. So it will be a 1 minute 16.2 as he comes across the line. But looks like he might be wanting to start on the yellow striped medium tires, going by that logic.
And speaking of the yellow stripe medium tires, Remco Van Putten on a flyer. We saw him get invalidated earlier as a result of some confusion between him and the Williams of Custom. But now, coming through this final chicane, what's the time going to be from the Renault?
Oh, Nigel coming across the line with a 14.4 to set provisional pole. And the Renault comes across with a 1 minute 15.5, which is good enough for position 5 at the moment. A lot of 5s in that time. But that's a pretty solid lap from the Renault. Can't be can't be too displeased with that. Solid time. Maybe a bit more to find on the table, but there's still plenty of time left, and those tires surely have some life left to give.
Well, BTFU, his teammate right now flying through Sector 2. He's on the soft compound tires. We'll see what he's able to put forth here on the grid. No time set yet.
Let's see, he misses the apex at turn 9, so that's not ideal. Doesn't open his DRS either. So, I don't know if this is intentional.
He's got no more energy deployment coming through Sector 3 right now. I think he's pulled out of it. We'll probably see him jump in for some of those mediums. You see a lot of these guys setting some times on now. Yoda and Rackety. A lot of these times I think are going to start to improve.
Yeah, Jean coming across the line with a 1 minute 16.4 on the medium compound. So that's good enough for P15 at the moment. Still waiting on Chenjay and Brainstew to set their laps. Looks like Brainstew has invalidated his first run. And Chenjay's still sitting in the pits, so there is still some time left, but it's making me a little nervous Seeing them down there with no times left, looks like they are taking omens from the master of one-shot qualifying, Mr. Fuba.
Well, Alex Bitto currently on a flyer in the Ferrari Mikcow, and he's coming through out of turn 5, I believe that is there. And he's going to be looking to improve, I think, on that 114.4 that Nigel has up there on P1 right now. Driver that we saw.
He's carrying so much speed in that Ferrari Strif. But he's a 10th down on his time going through the Sector 2 split, so it has to be a pretty good final sector. And as I said, he completely loses the car. Into the wall he goes. Doesn't look like you got any damage from that, but that certainly is gonna, you know, maybe not shatter his confidence, as I was going to say, but you know, might be a bit shaken from that.
Yeah, looking for drivers that are currently on flying laps. It looks like the German of Fubar was flying, but as I switched to him, he unfortunately takes just a little bit too much curb. And now he's spun. Now he's spun. No, and that is Fubar. Oh, man. Fubar, what are you doing, my friend? You hate to see it. Fubar out into... Oh, man. Mikcow,
He just can't catch a break.
I mean, I was gonna say earlier, he's fallen victim to the commentator's curse so many times. He got away with it setting his first lap. I jump on board with him. Not only does he invalidate the curb, but he takes too much of the exit and he crashes out in the racing point. And well, I hope we don't see it in the race, because that would just be I don't know what to say about that. On board now with Rackety. It appears he's not currently flying. However, his teammate is. That's Yoda on the medium compound tires.
Yeah, I'm also keeping an eye on S-King. Currently sitting in 5th place with a 1 minute 15.4. He is also on a flying lap, heading through Sector 3 as we speak. Looks like he's had a pretty solid run at it. I'm curious to see if his improvement will be enough to break into the 1 minute 14s. He's certainly a driver that's capable of pulling out such times, and it is. It's good enough for P3 with a 1 minute 14.784. So 7. I can do math. 7 hundredths of a second behind Alex Bitto in that Ferrari. But still, no one really quite able to reach up to that 14.4 that Nigel is set.
Well, curious thing here now, Mikcow. We were just looking between the fitted and the fastest tires. Of course, a majority of these drivers setting their best times on these softs now here at this point. But there's a couple of drivers who have set times on softs that are far out of range. And one of those drivers I'd like to bring your attention to is the Mercedes of some idiot, currently in 18th position. He set his lap a 1:19.1 on soft compound tires. Definitely not the quickest on the board. Of course, now he's out on mediums, as is a good chunk of this grid currently sitting on those mediums in the pit lane, looking to perhaps set out on some final runs to beat out those soft times with the track evolution here.
That certainly is the idea, it seems. You know, trying to get the best of the track conditions. It can gain you upwards of 2 to 3 tenths, you know, just doing your lap. At the end of the session, when the track's all rubbered in, there's a lot more grip. So one of the Red Bulls came across the line. That'd be Zamis. And he's able to improve by 4 and a bit tenths, going all the way up into P4. So that is a very, very solid time from the Red Bull driver.
Yeah, and as he did that, and as you say, Mikcow, his teammate, Swifty, flying out of turn 4, has come way round and has struggled to get back on circuit. Now he's going again, but he had to wait for some traffic, and now you can see Swifty is actually just not too far out in front of where Zamis is currently on the circuit.
I think Zamis has turned up the battery once again. Don't know if when he actually came across on, he was finishing his flying lap or starting it. But we'll see what the time is in the Sector 2 split. He's a second down and he invalidates. So even if he was on a lap, won't be counting now. So now, draw your eyes to Alex Bitto, who also invalidates, running a bit too wide on the exit of turn 9. So he'll have to charge things up and go again, which certainly isn't ideal for the Spaniard. Next one behind him is, of course, Some Idiot, filling in for Zmayo in that black Mercedes. And anyone in the chat who has seen Some Idiot race in other leagues know that he is a very, very fast man. So making his way through the final chicane. Let's see what time he's able to do. Gets really, really nice traction coming out of that final corner. What's the time going to be? It's going to be a 1 minute 14.8 on the medium compound tires. That is a stellar lap from the Mercedes.
E4 on the mediums. He's currently the driver on the medium compound tire furthest up this grid there. And all of the drivers ahead of him on those softs. And they are under some serious pressure now to perhaps, beat that time on the medium compound tire. It looks like Alex Bitto currently sitting in the pit lane on some medium compound tires. Might be fixing to get out there to try and crack that egg. Meanwhile, Hyper in the Ferrari, he crosses the line. He does a 10th up. Neon Rays in the Racing Point flying now.
Yeah, lots of cars now starting to come out on the circuit to set their final runs as that timer slowly but surely ticks down with just over a minute left remaining in the session. At least by our times, because there is a little bit of a time desync, which has been a custom in this game thus far. Well, I don't believe it happened in the Tier 2 race, but I'm sure we will look into that as the week goes on.
Oh,
Like somebody is also starting another flying lap, and Neon Rays has gone around at the exit of 13.
yeah, he's had an off and an issue there in the Racing Point. Now slow up. I believe that's Custom coming up behind him. Custom currently on an outlap, gearing up to go.
There's one of the Ferraris in Sector 3. That's Hyper on a cooldown. Behind him, I believe, is Rackety, who's also preparing for their final run. Like Chenjay is actually finishing his flying run on those medium compound tires, yet to set a time. So he's leaving it quite late to set his first and probably his only run in the session. If he comes across the line, it'll be P5.
Oh,
and he's only 2 milliseconds behind Some Idiot. So very, very close times between those two.
Current gap to leader. 1.1 from 10th down to 1st. Nigel still on pole position. That 114.428 seeming like it's unbeatable at the moment, but there's a couple of drivers who have yet to put in final runs. Alex Bitto deciding to come out once again on those soft compound tires, and he's had an off, so he is not going to be able to improve.
Yeah, just waiting for the checkered flag to drop. Looks like Hennes will be the first to cross the line to set his final time. It'll be P10 for the Haas. 1 minute 15.50. John right behind him crosses the line in P11. Only 200ths off the Brits' time. So the other drivers can do custom coming across the line in 18th with a 16.3. Neon Rays in the Racing Point with a 16 flat. So BCFU will come across the line in 13th with a 15.6 on the mediums. Next, I believe, is the Ferrari Hyper into 17th. And Rackety into 14th. And all the times as drivers coming across the line thick and fast. S-King promoting his way all the way up into P2. With that lap with a 14.6. Nigel improves to a 14 flat. And Brainstew with a 14.6 on the mediums.
What a grid we have that has shaped up here on the final few runs. Take a look at the gap to leader right now. Things have been shaken up massively with the tire differential on this grid. Of course, I imagine if everybody was on the same tires, things would be much tighter. But considering a lot of those drivers on mediums, I want to say it's split right down the middle here, Mikcow.
There certainly is a lot of variety in the strategy, as I believe everyone has now finished their final runs. So we're just going to wait for all these guys in the pits to retire their cars, and then we will be here for the race.
Yeah, for those of you just tuning in, this is Misfits Racing League Season 3 action. It's Tier Tier 1. I was about to say Tier 2. Tier 1 action. And it is round 6, of course, for Spain. And qualifying is just wrapping up now. We're about to jump into a 50% distance race with full damage, strict corner cutting, and a lot of fast people, if you will. Of course, grab your friends, grab your family, grab all of those who you think may enjoy a very, very exciting race, because look at the tire difference we have here. Of course, we'll go down through this grid for you in just a few moments. But I'm very excited for this race, Mikcow, as it's Nigel on pole position here, setting that time on the softs. Of course, King in P2 lining up next to him. Brainstew in third. Biddo in fourth. The Spaniard looking for a win around home, I imagine. Freeware in fifth. Of course, Some Idiot in sixth, making his debut as a reserve today. Shenjay in seventh. Zamis in eighth, with Yoda in ninth. Astrodate rounding off the top 10. It's Henners in 11th, with Jean in 12th. Remco Van Putten in 13th on the medium compound tires. Following him, it's his teammate, BTFU, with Rackety, Swifty, Neon Rays, Hyper, Custom, and Fubar bringing out the rest of this grid. And I can't get over the tire difference, Mikcow. It's going to be a great race.
Yeah, Nigel putting in a very, very nice lap there. 14 flat on the softs. A whole almost 6/10 faster than his nearest competitor. But of course, I'm sure he has to be worried about those guys with the mediums behind him. Those softs tend to give in very, very quickly around here, as is the nature of the circuit. Lots of high-speed corners, lots of load being put, especially on that front left tire, as I was saying in the pre-show. We're just going to wait for these drivers to finalize their setups under park firmware conditions, get the fuel load sorted, sort out the race strategies, and then we will be off for our formation lap ahead of the 33 laps to follow for MRL Tier 1, Round 6. It is the Spanish Grand Prix.
Of course, just a big shout out ahead of this race. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in. Thank you to everybody who joined us earlier today for Tier 2. And of course, thank you to everybody who's been supporting us all season long. Finn, thank you very much for your donation. We greatly appreciate it. Helping us keep things going here, bringing you guys racing action day after day, week after week. 20 seconds counting down now for Spain, round 6.
It's a very, very interesting grid. I'm curious to see how these soft runners within the top 10 hold up their pace against the medium runners. There are some fast guys, a little bit out of position just on their, from what we've seen previously. Alex Biddo seemed to not really put in the lap that he would have wanted in that qualifier session. Whole 7/10 down on Nigel, who he deems as one of his main competitors. As we just get set up here, looking at the tires, Striff. Only those in the top 10 starting on the softs, everyone else behind them on the mediums, and BTFU, Custom, and Fubar in 14th, 19th, and 20th, respectively, opting for the white striped hard compound tires.
Oh, and there's always got to be at least one pair, Mikcow. It seems Rackety and Swifty have unfortunately come together. Not entirely sure what happens there, but of course, during the formation lap, should any drivers come together on circuit, they are reset to the start of the grid, and they will unfortunately have to deal with some cold tires, Mikcow.
Yeah, this is one of the circuits where you really don't want your tires to be cold off the start. It's a long, long run down into turn 1. I think it's only beaten by Mexico from memory. It's a very, very long run to turn 1, and you need all the traction that you're able to get off that start. So it certainly isn't ideal for those two down in 15th and 16th. But it looks like no other issues to speak of yet, which is good.
Brainstew right in the middle of some soft runners there in the Mercedes. His teammate for the day, Some Idiot, currently in 6th position. Got the very quick Shenjay at his rear. I've seen them do battle previously on circuit together. My mind, of course, drifts back to Brazil, PPR D1 last season for them. Got a fantastic battle on circuit. So maybe we'll see some of those fireworks this evening.
Yeah, some of these drivers well-versed racing against Some Idiot and know his pace from other leagues. Of course, if you're just joining us, this is MRL Tier 1 action around the Spanish GP, and you are joining us just in time as the cars are lining up on their grid slots ahead of 33 laps around the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, and I can't wait, Striff. It's going to be exciting, I'm sure.
Oh, it's going to be a very intense run down into turn 1. Going to be looking very closely as best we can at that action. Of course, Mikcow, please do us the honor here. Take us away.
So we're just going to wait for the cars to start revving their engines. The 5 lights are on, at least for the drivers, and the lights are out, and away we go. Looks like a pretty decent start from most of the grid. Actually, Nigel getting away horribly. S-King is already alongside him, heading into turn 1. He takes the lead. Alex Bitto behind him in the Ferrari gets an amazing start. It's 3 wide for the leaders, heading down into turn 1. There's a little bit of a tap there from Nigel. It sets Alex Bitto off a little bit. That's Brainstew up into 3rd place. Freeway looking around the outside. Some Idiot now up into 6th place. Chenjay is still holding his position in 8th. And Remco Van Putten for the Renault squad all the way up into 9th place as Hyper seems to have fallen down the grid all the way down to 20th place.
Meanwhile, Zamis wheel to wheel with Yoda, and he's made it work. He's into 10th position, getting ahead of the McLaren, and there's battles going all over this circuit. Chenjay in 8th. Henners separates him and Some Idiot now, and Henners looking at Some Idiot. Chenjay was having a look on the inside now. He's under threat. That's the Renault of Remco Van Putten getting ahead, and Zamis has robbed Chenjay as well. And things aren't going too great, but he's made a move back on the Red Bull coming out of the right-hander, and this is just beautiful racing. Nobody's out. The exchange of positions is great, and as I say that, Jean and Astronaut are wheel to wheel, and this is just fantastic battling all over this circuit.
Yeah, so current top 3, S-King getting a very, very good start off the line, just using those softs, that extra traction to full effect. And Nigel, our pole sitter, down into 2nd place. Not the end of the world, probably not the best start he was hoping for. Alex Bitto at his home race up into 3rd, still in that 3rd place. Brainstew is actually wheel to wheel with him going down into turn 1. Strifium looks like Alex Bitto is holding on to that position, but Brainstew in that Mercedes is looking very, very quick, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, and there's battles going on all over this grid right now. It's Henners with Remco Van Putten looking at him now. It's Remco Van Putten with the move, wheel to wheel coming into turn 4. He's got the move up the inside. He's into 7th, and that's a fantastic move from him. Some Idiot right now currently in 6th position. He's holding station there, currently half a second on the rear of Freeware ahead of him. Of course, all of these soft runners still out in front of this race, but you can see there, the softs weren't even in the books for a lot of these drivers. Everyone's starting on these medium or hard compound tires. But it's Yoda on these mediums. Now he's on the rear of Zamis in the Red Bull. He's looking to the inside now, wheel to wheel. He's a little bit later on the brakes. You can see the Red Bull there on the outside, and he has made the move. Very nicely done there from the McLaren.
Yeah, the largest winner out of the start has been the Renault, currently in P7. Remco Van Putten up 6 places from his starting position. So after probably a disappointing qualifying session, he seems to be making that ground up very, very quickly as these drivers start lap 3 of this race. Now DRS will be enabled as they cross the line. Alex Bitto now setting the fastest lap so far with a 1:18.9. And there are some very, very close gaps all over this grid. Strifium, there's a battle going for that P9 position. It's like it's Yoda and Henry going side by side through turns 1 and 2. Henners will hold on to that position for now in P9, and Yoda will have to just sit back for that 10th place. They can't fight too much because they have Zamis, Astrodite, and Rackety close behind them in that little fight.
Yeah, meanwhile, it looks like there's been a bit of a scrap between Nigel and King at lead of this race right now. Nigel's really close to lead of this race in the Alfa Romeo, coming into the right-hander with the DRS now. Let's see how things go, because that Williams is a sitting duck for the Alfa Romeo here. Holding station is Nigel. Alex Bitto not too far behind, and they can't have any kind of major wheel-to-wheel fighting, or that Spaniard in the Ferrari behind is going to absolutely crash this party, Mikcow.
Yeah, it's very, very close between those two. You can just see how, just the extra speed that Nigel's able to carry. S-King having a little bit of a mistake. They're heading through the chicane. The overtake mode's engaged. You can see that Williams ahead using all the batteries.
Had it off.
Another issue, and then that's Freeware into the pits now as well. But this fight for the leaders, side by side, the two leaders heading into turn 1. Looks like Nigel holding that inside line will actually get in front of the Williams, and Alex Bitto behind him is just looking for any opportunity he can. S-King running a little bit wide on the exit of turn 3. Which way is he going to go? Looks like Alex better have a little look down the inside, but that's Brainstew and Some Idiot, the two Mercedes boys right behind them. So all this battling is allowing those two Mercedes to catch up right into this fight, Strifium, and this is unbelievable racing, and Nigel's already pulled 7/10 on the Williams.
Yeah, amongst all that action, Mikcow, it was the Alpha Tauri of Freeware dropping down like a stone through this timing tower. We saw him come off. It appears he had an issue on his way into the pit lane, or some kind of wheel-to-wheel encounter. Of course, we'll have to see footage later on, but this battle for the race lead is what everybody's keeping their eyes on. It is a huge train behind Nigel right now in lead of this race, and of course, the top three drivers here right now in Spain on those soft compound, they're going to start to feel them very, very soon.
I'm also keeping an eye on this fight on the latter half of the grid as Aphrodite makes a brilliant move on Rackety into turn 14. Not something you see very, very often, but he's able to make it work and get up into the points with his teammate. Rackety now down into 11th place and heading back up further in the field. Looks like it's Brainstew and Alex Bitter going side by side through turns 1 and 2. Alex Bitter will have the inside for turn 2, but Brainstew has to look in his rearview mirrors as his teammate, Some Idiot, is now side by side heading into turn 4. We've seen how the two Mercedes can go a few years ago with Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, but it looks like these two keeping it clear for now. They're still side by side, Strifium, heading through turn 5, and all this battling, they're losing a little bit of time to the leads in front. This certainly isn't ideal, but Some Idiot is now the lead Mercedes, catching up to those top three. Oh, the car has Rackety. Rackety's out. He's lost it at the exit of turn 9. And that is a full course caution. The safety car is out, ladies and gentlemen, on lap 5 of this race. And my goodness, I think I need to catch my breath with this. This is absolutely amazing.
Very unique situation now for all of these drivers, Mick, as they're all into the pits, a good chunk of them into the pits anyway. At the very least, all of the runners on the softs are coming in. Rackety, very unfortunately, out of this race. Now it is Brainstew at the helm, and he has now caught the safety car in the Mercedes. You see his teammate, Some Idiot, has decided, I think I'm going to go on hards here. The big question is, Mikcow, hards to the end?
It's certainly possible from this stage of the race, but it's a really big stretch. But from what I've heard around the the Discord, Some Idiot, known for really preserving his tires very well. Of course, probably famous for doing that soft medium strategy in PPR this past couple of weeks at Bahrain. So he certainly has the tire saving capabilities, and the safety car is definitely going to help him preserve the life in those tires. But from lap 6 to 33, that seems like, even for him, quite a bit of a stretch.
Well, of course, there is the other opportunity of another safety car here in this race, as it is that Sector 2 straight. We're on board with Yoda as we move through here down into this hard-braking left-hander section coming out of that DRS straight. Now, it's that DRS straight, the entry into it. Oh, it has caught many drivers. We saw it last season for MRL. We've seen it here again for the EU grid this previous Tuesday. And of course, we saw it earlier today in Tier 2. And now we've seen it yet again with Rackety, unfortunately catching and turning that car around into the wall. And now we have a safety car here. And, well, a lot of drivers are going to be happy about this. I think Freeware is going to be happy about it. And, well, not a lot of drivers, but I'll at the very least say Freeware and Custom are going to be happy about it. They haven't been lapped yet, thankfully. So it gives them a second shot at glory, if you will.
Yeah, that turn 9, that blind right-hander is just so dangerous and so terrifying, especially as the tires start to get worn. Any sort of sudden jolt on the wheel or any sort of oversteer going through that corner, and the car is just gone from you. Like, especially as the tires wear through the race, there is absolutely no saving that car. So very unfortunate for Rackety, now lying McLaren's hopes solely on the Albanian, currently sitting in 4th position. Is of course Yoda rocking that, I think it's like number 19, 14 or 19, I can't tell. but he's doing fairly well for the squad. Of course, the race winner in China. And yeah, lots of these drivers now in quite a decent position. Chen Jie up into P2 as well, our current championship leader for the AlphaTauri squad, having a better race than his teammate did, of course, not having that spin at the final corner or that incident at the pit lane that unfortunately weren't able to really see, at least on my end.
Now, one thing we can look at here as we're under safety car conditions, Mikcow, is the position changes here in this race. Of course, there's a big chunk of these drivers who have now come in on for their pit stops as a result of this safety car, but you can see a couple of the drivers who haven't have made up a very good amount of positions. Of course, Remco van Putten is up 10 places from where he began this race, as is Hyper. And they are the winners here, as is Swifty and Neon. Of course, they need to now keep at bay the drivers who did come in, and that will be, of course, most of the drivers from 10 down. And you see the only one who hasn't in that mixture is the German of Fubar. Now, if we look at the tires, a lot of drivers on these hards, Mikcow, a lot of fresh hards mixed in throughout this grid. And the one driver I'd like to bring everyone's attention to is, of course, the reserve driver of the day, the only reserve on the grid, and that is some idiot, as he decided to pit out of a top position.
Oh, we're going against Strifium. The safety car has been called in, and it is some idiot's teammate, Brainstew, leading the way as they make the way down into turn one. Looks like a pretty decent restart for the Mercedes. Remco van Putten only within a tenth and a half of the AlphaTauri in front of him. Chen Jie goes super deep into turn one, but Remco van Putten not able to capitalize just yet. Yoda right behind him. You can just see he's looking for a way past. He just doesn't have the extra kind of overspeed that he needs to really make a dive stick. And most of these drivers holding station off this restart. But there are some very fast guys, like you were saying, Strifium, who have made that pit stop early, who did come in under the safety car and now are in at that bottom 10. So they'll definitely be looking to try and make up some ground and at least some time on their rivals.
Yeah, Chen Jie very fortunate there. He almost lost it to the Dutchman in the Renault. That's, of course, Remco. But now we're on board with the Spaniard himself. That's Alex in the Ferrari. Nigel is first up on the chopping block for him. And we've seen Nigel so fast here today already. I imagine Alex not going to be too happy about that. Now it's some idiot. He's got ahead of the German in the Mercedes. So Fubar not going to be happy about seeing the black arrow, if you will, ahead of him right now. But some idiot is on a mission, and we'll check back in with him in a few moments time. But it's looking like Neon Ray's quite close to the rear of that Ferrari. That's Hyper currently running in 8th. And there's a multitude of positions being volleyed for right now. As you look at these timings after this restart, everybody within a second of one another. And John and Freeware have had an exchange. Freeware looking to plow through some traffic. He's up into 17th position.
Yeah, Astrodite also getting the move done on Fubar heading into turn one. It was a very clean move and probably an important one, as Fubar seems to be starting to get those alt hards up to temperature. So not showing the amount of pace that he probably would have liked to see from the Racing Point driver. But out in front, Brainster has already been able to pull a 1.2 second gap to the AlphaTauri behind him. So Chen Jie not really showing the pace to keep up with the Mercedes as of yet. But there are so many battles going on all the way down this grid. It's Alex Bitto on Nigel. He goes for a very late dive heading into turn 10. And he's able to make that move stick. Actually, no, I said that there's still some I said hit through turn 11 into turn 12, but looks like the Ferrari, using that extra grip available from the mediums, has made the move stick on one of his main championship rivals. So that is the Spaniard, the Ferrari, now up into the points, and I think theoretically in the net lead of this race.
That does definitely put Alex into the net lead of this race, Mikcow, and not only that, but he is very tight on the rear of Neon Rays going down into turn 1, and if he can get ahead of Neon Rays and separate himself from Nigel, that would be good. Of course, not a lot of battery currently in reservation for him, and he has a little bit of a slide out there coming through 2, but it's Hyper and Neon Rays now wheel to wheel, and this is going to give Alex an opportunity. It's his teammate dragging him along there. Coming into turn 4 now, Hyper on the inside, and how's this going to go? We've seen them come together in qualifying. Of course, it may have been accidental. We'll see now. It's Alex with a very serious lunge on his teammate. He has made the move, and Nigel is very tight to the rear of this.
There's absolutely nowhere to go for Nigel. He can just see those two Ferraris battling it out, but there's absolutely no way that he can past Hyper. It looks like Hyper might be start playing sort of a team game, trying to hold up the Alfa Romeo as much as he legally can. But he also has to worry about S-King behind him and some idiot who is closing that gap at a vast rate of knots. So he will be on this train soon if they aren't careful, Striff.
Yeah, most definitely. And another person who's going to be in the mixture is Zamis. He's now made his way ahead of the German in the racing point. That's Fubar. And now the other German, Freeware, getting out in front. And we've seen Fubar. It looks like Fubar's had an issue, and he has. You hate to see it, and we saw it in quali, Mikcow. But that is the racing point now struggling, and he is going to head down into the pit lane. And now Alex Bitto, the Spaniard, is dropping through this grid. He has had an issue, looks like outside of turn 1, and I don't know what happened there as we were looking at what was going on in the rear of this grid. But we move on over. It's the Alfa Romeo of Nigel looking for a move on Hyper, and now that's the racing point of Neon Rays. He is off, and he has a major chunk of front wing damage. There is some fast movers coming through, and he has to be very careful here to get out of the way and not rejoin the circuit unsafely. He waits for everybody to move by, and we've had a major spell of drama here in this Grand Prix now after we've already had one safety car deployed, and this battle in this final points position area has just been absolutely wild. And who is still in the mixture here? Zamis, Astrodate, Some Idiot, and King all looking to get ahead of this train that is Nigel, and Hyper currently a second and a half on the rear of the Red Bull. That's Swifty in 7th.
Yeah, it looks like just ahead of him, Henna's in that Haas. Currently sitting P6. He's doing very, very well for himself at the moment. Seemed to be holding up the guys behind a couple laps ago, but he seems to have picked up the pace slightly. As Nigel now looking for a move on Hyper after Alex Bitto has had his off. He really needs to get past this Ferrari. You can just see the overspeed. Heading into turn 1, he will commit to the outside line. A little bit of a lock-up there from the Ferrari on the inside. But it looks like Nigel will be able to get out in front for the time being. Hyper trying to keep it round on the inside. Will now then drift to the outside, and now S-King is on the attack as well, heading on the inside into turn 4. Hyper leaving all the space that he possibly can, and Some Idiot now is on the attack. Hyper's going to lose out against another place as Some Idiot heading into turn 5 down the inside of the Ferrari, and Hyper has just lost 3 positions in the space of 5 corners.
Now, I believe historically, Mikcow, on the commentary cast, I believe that's what I would call a mugging if I've ever seen it. Hyper now into 11th position. He's just been absolutely dropped through this grid. He's on those 11-lap-old medium compound tires, but a lot of these racers ahead now on these 5-lap-old hard compounds. And technically speaking, those tires aren't that much quicker at the moment, so he could be struggling. Of course, Hyper, no stranger to Spain, and he could just be playing the patient long game here.
Brainstew setting a new fast lap of the race so far with a 1 minute 18.2. Currently the gap in front 1.6 seconds, so Brainstew seems to be in control of this race as the Italian. But we'll see what he's able to do. Remco Van Putten slowly closing that gap towards Shenjie in that fight. And there's actually a fight going on for P6 at the moment, Strip, as Swifty has now made the move past on Henna's in the Haas. Nigel very, very close behind them with S-King and Some Idiot also trailing these two. It looks like Nigel has a little bit of a look heading into turn 4, but Hennes goes a little bit deep on the exit. That's going to open the door wide open for the Alfa Romeo. Will commit to the outside line. Hennes a little bit later on the brakes, trying to hold that position as best he can. They're still side-by-side Strifium. S-King has a beautiful view of this, but Hennes having that inside line for turn 6, heading into turn 7, will hold on to that position for now. But I doubt that he'll be able to hold on to it for much longer, as he has a little bit of a slide at the exit of turn 9. You don't want to be doing that too often. We've seen how that can go with Rackety a few laps ago. Nigel still looking up on the inside. S-King getting a force down a little bit from the Alpha, trying to make a move on the Haas, and Some Idiot is just thinking, where on earth do I go in all these cars ahead of me, all this traffic that they seem to be battling super, super hard. We love to see it, but probably from the cockpit of that Mercedes, it seems more of a nuisance. But as they make their way down into the main straight, as we see some of the leaders actually now pitting onto the hard combat tires, making their final stop. The DRS is wide open. You can see Hennes now going to the inside, trying to defend that position. There's a massive, massive train of cars as the leaders are coming out of the pits right about now. There's also a massive fight going on behind them for 8th place as well, but I don't even know where to look, Strifium. There's battles happening all over the place. All cars are so close together. S-King a little bit later on the brakes than Nigel, but still isn't quite able to make that move.
Tell me if you've ever seen a Spanish Grand Prix like this in Formula 1 2020. I'll wait. Right now, some idiot wheel-to-wheel with King coming through Sector 2. That's the Williams on the outside right now, but he doesn't have the best entry, and that is some idiot with a very, very smooth move on the Williams. He is now charging ahead, and King now has another driver to deal with, and that is Freeware, who has been charging through this grid very carefully in the AlphaTauri. We saw him a few laps ago, of course, overtake the Red Bull of Zamis, and it appears Astrodate has now fallen victim to him as well. But now, speaking of victims, Swifty, currently in P4, we saw him and Henners exchange positions. It looks like it's time for another run from him, as they're both actually going to jump into the pit lane. Let's take a look, as Nigel now going to be back in a very solid running position. Where is Brainstew? He's not going to come out anywhere even remotely close to the front.
Let's look at his teammate submitting it down the inside of Nigel heading into turn 1. This is for the figurative race lead, ladies and gentlemen. Some idiot now having the inside for turn 3. They're still wheel-to-wheel heading up the hill through the fast right-hander. But it looks like some idiot will get that move done. We'll have the inside line for turn 4. Unless Nigel can hold it around the outside. He's trying to, but some idiot closes that door off. And some idiot now into P2 and the figurative net race lead, but I'm sure that that Alfa Romeo right behind him isn't going to let him have it easily.
Oh no, he isn't, as they are on matching tires right now. Of course, pace is what's at play. Battery going to play a role at some point, but now it's Nigel with the DRS. We'll see if he's able to come back at the Mercedes. But some idiot showing some fantastic speed right now in control of that car. Currently, BTFU, your race leader, however, he has yet to pit, and I do believe we're going to be seeing a pit stop from him very soon, if not right now. And he's actually opted to stay out, Mikcow. He's feeling comfortable on these hards, so he's going to go for some time yet.
Yeah, as we're just making our way towards the halfway point in this race. BTFU probably looking to go maybe like another 5, 6, 7, 8 laps on those hards before switching all over to a set of medium compound tires. The yellow flag in sector 2, that's Neon Race, who spun again at turn 4. And as there's a battle now between Custom and Jean heading into turn 1. Oh, there's Custom getting on the curb, and he's spun into the wall.
Oh, and that's something you don't want to see. I think Yoda's now made it through on him, and I think Henners may just have an opportunity. We'll see how Custom was able to get back on circuit here, as I was looking for a third-party view, but it doesn't appear that I made the right move. But definitely not going to be happy about that. Henners and Swifty, though, on these hard compound tires, now seemingly going to the end. Henners now has caught up with the Williams Custom. Not doing too hot. Henners still defending against Swifty and this back of the pack. Of course, we still have so much action happening up in the front of this grid. Zamis is currently in 7th. Hunting down the Haas of Astrodate. Less than half a second, excuse me, is the gap here in this one. They're coming through Sector 3, and they're about to come through this chicane. Mikcow, what do you think we can see coming down into Turn 1?
Oh, this seems like a massive, massive DRS train, as Zamis actually picks up a 3-second time penalty to add insult to injury. But Zamis also has to worry about that Mercedes behind him on those fresh, hard compound tires. You can see that the Red Bull is very, very low on that battery. All these cars having DRS, so it isn't quite going to be enough. But Zamis, I think he has to be wary of Brace, who also picks up a 3-second time penalty. So the time penalties, those warnings that these drivers may have accumulated through the race, now starting to add up into penalties, as S-King goes a little bit wide at the exit of turn 3, and he will also pick one up for exceeding track limits. Dips a couple tires into the grass, no less, on the exit of 4. But he's able to keep that car under control. And it's quite interesting how both the Red Bulls are attacking both Haas's almost simultaneously. And Swifty down in P13 now, getting past Henners for that P13 slot. And there's quite a nice fight happening between those two as well, Strif.
Yeah, this top 10 right now is an absolute pressure cooker. Any slight mistakes are going to cost them some major time. And by time, that means position, considering the intervals we're seeing on that timing tower. We see Zamis going a little wide around the rear of Astrodate there, and Brainstew's here waiting for those crumbs to fall off the table. Are Mommy and Daddy going to get into it? Oh, I don't know. Brainstew, just here as a spectator, rubbing his hands together.
Is Zamis having a little bit of a slide heading out the final corner. Of course, both cars will have DRS. as there is a fight going on at the head of this train. Nigel and Esking going side by side into turn number 1. And it looks like Brainstew has actually made that move on Zamis as well for that P7 spot. So moves happening all across this train, but it's still a DRS train nonetheless. Of course, the lesser dirty air effects in this game providing some amazing racing that I'm sure you'd never see in the real life Spanish GP. The engine's running too hot, but of course we are in the virtual world and these drivers are going hard at it, Striff, hard.
Very hard. And speaking of hard, it's Astrodite defending against the Mercedes of Brainstew. He's on much fresher driver tire right now, and of course you have the DRS and overtake element. Astrodite just falling out of DRS, it almost seemed, there on freeware, and that's going to be that's been allowing Brainstew. You can see, oh, almost into the rear of the Haas now. But Brainstew very tight to the rear of Astrodite, and we've seen Astrodite's defending capabilities. We saw it last week around, of course, the Netherlands in Zandvoort, and we're seeing it here again today. Brainstew being held up by some fairly older tires. Meanwhile, it's Zamis who's caught up to this train, but I think it might be time done for him.
The Mercedes Strip is going on the inside of the Haas, and that is a fairly simple move, it seemed. Just having so much more speed, using that overtake, that slipstream, that DRS, and just making that move like it was nothing.
Yeah, and another fight to take a look at is Shenjay now, who's on 4-lap old hards. He's tightened up to the rear of the Red Bull counterpart of Zamis, and this train that's forming is going to give him a very solid opportunity to slingshot himself ahead into some further points position on these fresher tires. And drivers that are going to be looking to benefit with that, of course, are also going to be Remco, Yoda, and those drivers on the much fresher rubber, because I don't know at this point in time if these older running tires are going to make it to the end with enough pace to hold these drivers back.
Well, with the amount of fighting we're seeing in this, this fight for what effectively is P3, no, I don't even think they'd be making it to the end. But no, I've been proven wrong once before, so maybe I'll be proven wrong once again, Striff. But Zamis now eyeing up that Haas in front of him to try and get past for that P7. Astrodite will not have the DRS going down the main straight. You can see Zamis there moving over to that right-hand side. Shenjay as well, having so much more speed, will also get past the Haas there. And he's actually going side by side with the Red Bull. Is it going to be 2-1 for the AlphaTauri driver? He's holding it around the outside of turn 2, but yes, it will be. It will be 2-1 for our current championship leader. He's now up into 7th place. Zamis makes 1 step forward, 1 step back. So instead of chasing down the Haas, he now has Shenjay in his sights and on his radar as well.
Yeah, and he knows what kind of problem that can be. Shenjay quite quick, and he's on some much quicker rubber tires at the moment. But now a battle that I want to take your attention to is Brainstew. I thought we were going to see the move down into turn 1 there last time round. But of course, now here we are coming through the DRS straight once again. Can we see it here? That freeware, of course, ahead has DRS on King, and there's just this big train, of course, through Sector 2. Where we're going to see these moves and where we need to see people tighten up is in these corners, and right now Brainstew is the closest of them all, and he needs to have a good exit out of this chicane in order to dispatch this AlphaTauri, Mikcow.
Always making Freeway go defensive, trying to compromise this run as much as he can. Freeway actually diving into the pits, so he won't have to worry about overtaking that AlphaTauri. Probably going on to another set of medium tires. BT, if you're also going into the pits, making his pit stop. So Summit now into the lead of this race. Nigel and Esking now making it a fight for second. Brainstew 1.5 seconds behind that. And Shenjay following his Mercedes rival around the track as well, with Zamis close behind them. Still within that DRS range, but we are seeing the gap start to extend a little bit. And while all this fighting has been going, Remco van Putten has made up the gap of about 4 seconds from 8 laps ago or so. He's now right on the back of Astrodite as well, trying to make his way further up the grid.
Yeah, some great battles we've seen all throughout this race. Some very unique overtakes in some areas we may not have seen some. Of course, now some idiot up 5 positions from where he began in lead of this race. Now it is, of course, Remco van Putten who's looking to charge at Astrodite. But we see all the position changes. This has been such a dynamic race. Of course, we had the one safety car come out so far. We've had a multitude of drivers stopping here so far. We have about 12 to 13 laps remaining. Given the current lap we are on, fastest lap in this race right now, a 1:17.8 held on to by, that is him, of course, in P5, Shenjie, the championship leader.
As Brainstew now takes that fastest lap and Swifty getting a 3-second time penalty. So Brainstew using those fresh hards to full effect. He has the pace in that Mercedes. You can see him slowly but surely gaining on that Williams in front of him. Nigel putting a valiant effort to try and stay with some idiot, but that gap seems to be slowly but surely increasing between our top two. So some idiot seems to be in a very good spot, but like I was saying during the safety car, when these guys pit for those hards, I don't know if they'll make it to the end of this race. We've seen Freeware bite the bullet off the mediums, go into a fresh set of hards. He's now down in 12th place, trying to make his way back into the points. But I'm still very, very skeptical on these tires, Striff, and whether they'll actually make it to the end without puncturing.
Yeah, it's going to be a very unique race finish. Of course, penalties can play a role. Not entirely sure what that situation is currently looking like. We're just shy of 10 laps to go here, and this race has been absolutely fantastic start to current place, and I hope we see a lot more action here through to the end. And it's currently Yoda, probably the tightest gap on grid right now other than Brainstew, in a fight for more points. Currently Astrodite ahead of him by less than half a second, and Astrodite's gaining on Remco as well, just dipping his toes in and out of that 1 second range. Now it's DRS for Brainstew, but of course King, following along with the alpha of Nigel, is going to have that defense against the Mercedes. And now Shenjie has lost out almost on the Mercedes as well.
Yoda making a nice move there through turn 2. You can just see the extra grip on those fresher hards. He's like rocketing away from the Haas, it would seem. Already pulling a 5/10 gap within the space of 2 corners. And Remco Van Putten also made the move on Zamis down that main straight, so he's now up into 6th place as well. He's making massive gains, and now he has Shenjie ahead of him, with just some 2.6 seconds ahead, as S-King will pick up another 3-second time penalty. That is the last thing he needed, with the guys all so close together.
Yeah, we were talking about how tight this grid is and how crucial it is to make sure you keep that car clean on circuit, and penalties aren't going to be anything these drivers want to see. I know when I'm driving and you get that penalty, it's just a massive deflation. Of course, it's King now in 3rd position. Just has to keep his head down, drive it out. Not much you can do about those penalties except push now at this point in the race. Of course.
S-King has fallen out of DRS races. Hyper's had an off at turn 9, and we have the 2nd safety car of the race.
Oh, and it's just scenes here now in Barcelona, as that has completely thrown a wrench in this race. Oh, man. What is going to happen now?
I know what the best thing is, Striff. The best thing here is that nobody was lapped. So we're going to see this entire grid, the remaining 18 drivers, all bunched up together, presumably on a fresh set of soft or medium compound tires. Looks like Astrodite and Jean opting for a fresh set of softs, as there's now a myriad of activity in the pit lane. But everyone is going to be on fresh tires, presumably, to the end of this race, all bunched up, and it's going to be a sprint to the end from what I'm guessing is going to be lap 28, maybe lap 27. So we're going to have a 6 or 7 lap sprint to the end, and that is going to be amazing.
Yeah, well, for those of you in the chat, make sure you toss that link out, get your friends in, and you tell them, hey, I'm watching Spain how it should have happened right now on MRL. It's absolute scenes here. I am losing my mind given the absolute dynamics of this race.
So as expected, everyone going into the pits except Shenjie is going for the gamble. He has stayed out on those 9-lap-old hard compound tires. I'm not entirely sure if I agree with that decision or not, but we'll see how it pays out for him in the end. Like now, Custom is now a lap down, unfortunately, due to Shenjie staying out that extra lap. So, forget what I said about the whole grid bunching up. Custom and Neon Rays will be a lap down. But I don't know if that's the right call, Chen-Jay. Nigel has actually jumped some idiot in the pits as well.
Oh,
So some idiot
man.
now in the third. S-King on a fresh set of softs. He does have those 6 seconds worth of penalties, which certainly aren't going to help his case, but he's on a fresh set of softs. Remco and Putin are going on the softs. Brainsteer on the mediums. Freeware in the other AlphaTauri also set out on those slightly worn hards. Zamas now out on mediums. Yoda on softs. Astronaut on softs. BTFU is also pitted for a fresh set of mediums.
Oh,
and Custom has gotten to 5 seconds for ignoring yellow flags.
Well, this race has been one that we will not soon forget, and I have to say it, Mikcow, I have to say it's been in a good way. Normally you'll hear me say that after some very unique races, but well, this one's been unique in just the fact that we have no idea what is going to happen now at the end of this race. Of course, for all of you tuning into the chat, thank you. We love you. This is for you, and we would love to hear from you. Who are your top 3 racers? And of course, we're giving you this option blind. Looking at the grid as it stands right now, we want to know who is finishing on the steps today. Of course, 1 through 3, who are your predictions?
I think it's pretty hard to make any sort of prediction at this stage of the race. It looks like Neon Rays is leading the safety car. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but we'll see what happens here. Hopefully the safety car isn't bugged out.
Looks like he's attempting to overtake the safety car, and this is a very bold move. We'll see if it pays off, Cotton. Oh.
Hopefully he's able to make that stick.
Well, he appears to have made it stick. Normally we would see him get disqualified, but it appears Neon Rays has allowed himself to overtake. And absolutely wild.
No, I'm like, if he doesn't get disqualified, which I'm sure the message would have popped up by now, I'm so thankful, right? Because having lap traffic in the lead for this race, where it's an actual sprint to the end, is just super like unnecessary. Like, you don't want that as a lead driver, and you don't want to be it as that lap traffic. Alex Bitto now coming out of the pits again onto a fresh set of softs. Not quite sure what was happened to him after he had that little incident at turn 1, about 10-15 laps ago. But he's down in 16th, and he is going to be definitely looking to make up some time. But Chen-Jay, I'm not sure I agree with this decision from the AlphaTauri team. They are leading the constructors, and they do have the track position, but as we've seen this race, it is indeed possible to overtake at Spain. Believe it or not, we've seen it done. We've seen it done cleanly on multiple occasions now throughout the entirety of this race, which has been absolutely amazing. It looks like the AlphaTauri team looking to try and get that track position as a way to try and steal this race win. But looks like the safety car will be going around for one more lap as we wait for Neon Rays and Custom to finish unlapping themselves. And then we will be back with green flag running at the end of lap 27.
Yes, this has just been absolutely crazy running, because you look at Chen-Jay, he's going to be on 13-lap-old hard compound tires once the safety car comes in here. The big question is how these softs are going to last to the end of this race. They drop off quite a bit, so those mediums I think may be the right call, and if that is the right call, Nigel and Some Idiot are going to have a fantastic battle. Of course, Nigel getting ahead of Some Idiot in the pit lane, Some Idiot having to overtake the Alfa Romeo once again. We saw a very clean battle between them earlier in this race. Of course, for those of you just tuning in, this is Tier 1 MRL racing action every Thursday, 5:15 p.m. CDT, 11:15 p.m. BST. And of course, this is round 6. Next week is Monaco, and I can't wait for that. Of course, more racing action in Spain this week. You can find us live tomorrow, 2 p.m. CDT, 8 p.m. BST. That's going to be the MRL Club division, taking to Spain as well. We got some very fast races in there. Ben the Bear joining us for that one. ZZ9 Fraser. Quite the championship battle going on there. And of course, Alex Bitto will be back to compete in that one. Looking for a win around Spain. He's not doing so hot right now, but we'll see how he goes then, and we'll see how things go to the end of this race. Of course, MRL Endurance Series this Saturday, 11 p.m. BST. That's 5 p.m. CDT, 100% Belgium. And Mikcow, I don't know what the weather report is, but perhaps you could fill us all in.
It seems that it's going to be raining. Raining at Spa, which is great for us, but it's an absolute nightmare for the drivers, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
So be sure to check that out. I don't know if the weather forecast has changed since the last time I checked it on yesterday, actually it was. But, you know, be sure to tune in on Saturday for that amazing race. If wet or dry, it's going to be a fantastic race. Spa, one of those really, really iconic circuits. But going back to the race at hand, as we're about to start lap 28 of 33 of this race, Chenjay has pulled the pin. It is green flag running as soon as he crosses that start-finish line, which will be right about now. And it looks like Some Idiot has gotten a very, very good restart here. Only 2/10 behind Nigel in second place. There's also a battle going on between Zamis and Freeware. As Freeware, a bit later on the brakes, heading into turn 1, going semi-defensive. Zamis looks like he's had a bit of a half spin as well. He's also positioned to Yoda and Astrodice, so he's now down into 10th place. There's fights going on all over this grid. There's a fight between the other Red Bull and the House.
It's Alex Biddo, Shenjay, or not Alex Biddo, Nigel and Shenjay, excuse me, as we were on board with the Ferrari, but it is Shenjay getting passed up by the Alfa Romeo, and now Some Idiot is in attack mode. You can see Shenjay on these hards. It may not have been the right call here for him, because these medium compound tires are showing so much pace right now versus those tires that Shenjay is running. It's going to be very difficult to defend here, especially against the driver of Some Idiot's caliber.
Some Idiot needs to clear this AlphaTauri as quick as he can. You just see the amount of time that Nigel's already pulling away from Shenjay. If he breaks that 1 second DRS, I'm afraid that might be all over for the Mercedes. The reserve filling in. One of the favorites to win this race, I'm sure. He's shown a great pace across other leagues, but how will he fare in MRL? He has that overtake button on. Nigel setting the fastest lap of the race so far. Shenjay doing very well. He will hold that racing line on the outside. Somebody looking down the inside. Is he far enough ahead into the brakes? So they're still side by side through turn 2, and that's Shenjay.
That's a huge issue there. Oh no!
Massive collision. S-King and Shenjay both going off there. Looks like no safety car, but that is super, super unfortunate for the Williams. He has been doing well all like this entire race so far. We've seen him get into some great, great battles. But one mistake from a driver in front, that's all it took. Shenjay just trying to accelerate off the ripple strip there, and he has lost out of the points now as well on those now really, really worn hard compound tires.
Yeah, very shocking not to see a safety car come out of that, as that was a major collision. We saw Remco Van Putten emerge from the shadows there through the smoke, if you will, just blow through into third position, and he had to do some very heads-up driving. Of course, we'll be looking to see his onboard of that as well. But right now, Alex Biddo, the Spaniard, you look at this grid right now, things are very tight, and we still have quite a few laps to go. It is currently on lap 30 here in Spain. And I imagine the Spaniard, an axe to grind here with a lot of race left. But right now, your top 3, it's Nigel out currently 1.7 seconds ahead of Some Idiot. Of course, still a little bit of race to go. The Mercedes is going to be looking to climb down and hunt down that gap. Of course, Remco Van Putten within a second of the Mercedes ahead in third. Of course, penalties can play a role here in this one. Not entirely sure what the situation is for the drivers at the top 5 right now, but I can say this: if any of these drivers make a mistake on circuit, they are most certainly going to fall down to the back. And as I say that, Fubar retires in the pit lane.
Well, I can say, Striff, that the only one out of the top 5 with the penalty is Brain Stew in that Mercedes with 3 seconds. So looks like it's going to be a straight fight, at least for the top 3.
Yeah, and just started to interrupt.
Also had a bit of an issue.
Yeah, he came together with Neon Rays there, coming through into that Sector 2 right-hander, and they locked wheels, and I think Henner has just lost out there, coming through the turn. So
Brainstreet now setting the fastest lap of the race so far, with penalty or not. He wants that third position on track. He's looking down the outside of Remco Van Putten. Looks like a bit of a massive bit of contact there. It looks like it was a hard hit, but
well, Brainstew
looks
went
like
into the rear of him on the straight. He's lost an end plate, and there's a driver off on the shoulder there. Who is that?
that's Fubar. Fubar's AI car going out of the pits all the way to turn 4, it would seem. That's very, very far, the racing point.
Zamis and Freeware in a
Alex
battle
Bitter.
right now. And it looks like
Alex
Zamis has
Bitter.
got ahead of the German.
Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate there. But it looks like it's going to be quite the fight. Nigel showing some incredible pace for these last few laps.
Yoda,
Able to maintain
Brainstew.
that gap.
Yoda and
And
Brainstew
Yoda
wheel to wheel.
Brainstew as well.
Now it appears that the AI car of Fubar may have impeded the line there of the Ferrari of Alex Bitto, resulting in some kind of offline crash. Not entirely sure. We'll have to see footage, of course. I do believe Fubar retired his car in the pit lane.
Yeah, I do believe so as well. But we have 2 laps left in this race. Currently, there's a 2-second gap, or 1.8, 1.7 seconds between Nigel and some idiot. Remco Van Putten, some 2 seconds behind that. Yoda, a second and a half behind that, as there's a fight now in the lower positions. Neon Rays are making the move on Swifty there for P12. Might be maybe no points on offer, but he surely will get bragging rights after pulling a move like that.
It was very nicely done from him, and now looking for a move. It's Astrate looking to capture that Mercedes of Brainstew. Brainstew, of course, having a little bit of front end damage. Of course, Astrate, a little bit of a slip coming out of that left-hander, and now it's Brainstew under threat because, of course, Astrate on these softs until the end. They have a little bit more pace in them right now, and now it's DRS
Can't
time.
forget about Zamis. You can't forget about Zamis. He's also on those freshish medium compound tires. Astrate making the move past Brainstew, and that's Freeware going for a massive dive on Zamis as well. Not able to make that move stick. But there is a 4-way battle for P5 in this race. Brainstew carrying that damage as Nigel, our current race leader, is about to start the final lap of this race. So if some idiot wants to take that race win on his debut, he needs to give it everything he's got to pull in a stellar lap. With this battle from 5th onwards, this train all the way down to Chenjade in 11th is absolutely incredible. This is the final lap of the race, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like BTFU on Freeware looking around the outside. Freeware defense cuts a little bit of that turn 1 apex. Trying to hold on to that position. He seems to be able to do that for now. You can see Brainstew struggling up ahead with that brain... Not brain damage, sorry. The wing damage there. Getting my words confused there. Sorry about that. But you can just see he's really, really struggling through that fast right-hander of turn 3. Zamis has already pulled out 8/10 on the Mercedes behind him. Chenjade now making a move on Jean for that final points place. Jean will also pick up a 3-second time penalty for his struggles, and this is absolutely insane on the final lap strip.
Oh, we're seeing it how we wanted to see it. Lots of action here in Spain, and right now it's Freeware looking at Brainstew, and you see a switch between the two, and it's wheel-to-wheel. Freeware on the inside. Looks like he's made the move for now. Brainstew and him continuing the battle, and that is going to be BTFU, and Brainstew gets mugged by both of them, and now it's Chenjade there as well, who's looking for P9. What racing we've seen as Nigel takes the checkered flag, and it looks like some idiot coming across with his MRL debut in 2nd position here, and it was a fantastic battle for the podium positions, as look at how quickly this grid is coming across the line here after amazing racing in Spain. Wow, what a fantastic race that was.
Wow, that's how Spain should have been. That's how Spain should be, all right? No, Liberty Media, take notes.
That's how it should have happened. Spain, how it should have happened. That's what we should call this one there, Mikcow. Fantastic race. Of course, we got more Spain this week. MRL Club Division tomorrow, but what a race. Big congratulations, of course, are in order. Nigel taking another win. He was victorious in Australia. Now he is victorious once again here in Spain. Remco Van Putten securing driver of the day, making up quite a multitude of positions here in this one, Mick.
Yeah, no, Remco Van Putten had an amazing drive, but congratulations to all these drivers, especially to Nigel, our race winner. It was hard fought on that last lap, even though we weren't really paying too much attention to it on the stream. I saw that gap to some idiot just slowly closing as the tires sort of were worn out, and some idiot giving everything he's got, but in the end it just wasn't enough to pull back that gap. So Nigel taking the race win for Alfa Romeo, returned to form after his amazing win in Australia. Now back on the top step, and congratulations to all three of our podium finishes today. What an amazing race, Striff.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Nigel starting on pole position, getting the win for Alfa Romeo. Some idiot 6th on the grid this evening, taking home P2. Great debut from him. Of course, it was a very hard-fought race for all of these racers. Yoda doing very well to come home in 3rd from 9th position, and it's, of course, Remco van Putten in 4th, Astro in 5th, with Zamis in 6th, Shenjay in 7th, with Brainstew in 8th, and Jean in 9th for the other Alpha. So it's a double points finish for them. And Neon Rays rounding out your top 10 points finishers here. The fastest lap point held on to by Custom. The 116.6, of course, that point needs to be held by the top 10 driver, or the fastest lap needs to be the top 10 driver in order for that point to be awarded. But what a fantastic race that was overall, Mikcow. Of course, tell us what you guys thought in the chat. We'd love to hear it. That race was just what... Oh, man. I expected something to be... I expected good. I didn't expect amazing, like, to that degree. That was just great. Tell us what you guys think in the chat. Of course, Mikcow, any last thoughts for our viewers before we go ahead and raid?
I don't think anyone, and I mean anyone, was expecting Spain to be as exciting as that. So if trust me, if these tier 1 drivers are able to make Spain that exciting, the sky's the limit for next week around Monaco. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are around the Principality next week for round number 8. It is, of course, the Monaco GP, the first time that MRL has held an official league race around Monaco, and Monaco probably the hardest circuit to overtake at, because just of the nature of the track and how narrow it is. It is a little bit wider than it was in the previous game, but still the technical challenge of Monaco should never be underestimated. So I am really, really excited to see how these drivers go around that iconic and so very challenging circuit.
Yeah, that was a fantastic race. And of course, if you're looking to race in the Misfits Racing League, we are always looking for new racers. Of course, you got to be clean. Jump on in our Discord and type !apply after you read the rules, and you can fill out the mid-season application and you can drive in any one of our grids. Of course, that is going to be it for us. Taking to the Spanish circuit tomorrow will be the MRL Club division. That's at 2 p.m. CDT. /8 p.m. BST. So we hope to see you then. Of course, if you're new to the stream, follow along, because we do this racing on a very, very regular basis. Of course, guys, we are going to bid you farewell for now, and we will see you once again tomorrow. We have lots of racing left this week, but we are going to head on over and raid. And as usual, thank you to everybody who supported the stream, watched along, and followed throughout, well, the Misfits Racing League.